Everyone knew Robert married me to make Jessica jealous. They broke up before the wedding, Jessica stormed off abroad, and Robert didn't indulge her, he turned around and married me. I wore a wedding dress that wasn't mine and married a man who didn't love me. Everyone said that when Jessica came back, Robert would discard me. But by the 3rd year of our marriage, Robert seemed to be falling for me. He'd make me breakfast, coax me out of bed, and kiss my lips when I was being playful. In our most intimate moments, he'd whisper in the dark, tempting me, honey, give me a child. One as sweet as you. We were like any ordinary loving couple. Until the day I actually got pregnant. Before I could tell Robert Jessica returned. That day, they reconciled. The day Jessica returned was their class reunion. I heard her family had gone bankrupt and she was desperately trying to borrow money. When Robert led me inside, he saw a rich male classmate, Mark, pouring drinks down Jessica's throat, saying he'd lend her $100,000 for each glass. Jessica choked, tears streaming, but she kept smiling and down every glass. When she saw Robert arrive, she suddenly panicked, probably feeling embarrassed, and quickly lowered her head. Someone jeered, Jess, if you're short on cash, why don't you beg Robert, the best actor? With your history, just roll around in bed with him a couple times, and he won't leave you high and dry. Robert glared coldly, then slowly said, cut the disgusting shit. Then he leaned on my shoulder and added, anyone who upsets my wife better shut the hell up and get out. Everyone laughed, calling me Sarah and saying how much they envied Robert's affection for me. No one knew that if Jessica hadn't shown up unexpectedly, Robert wouldn't have been there at all. Jessica glared at me, biting her lip hard, holding back tears. The man who'd been plying her with drinks put a hand on her shoulder, rubbing it, and asked, what are you going to do? Robert, the best actor, seems to be done with you. But it's okay. If he doesn't want you, I do. How about you strip down and keep me happy in bed, and I'll give you some spending money. Robert put out his cigarette. He was clearly unhappy and his face turned cold. He still felt for her. Jessica held back her tears, looked up at Robert and said softly, I won't. I only love one person in this life. Even if he doesn't want me anymore, I won't let anyone else touch me. Robert's hand suddenly tightened around mine, hurting me. Mark, his pride-wounded laughed. He cursed Jessica, calling her a bitch and asking, who do you think you are, some kind of pure saint? Damn it, I offered you a chance and you turned it down. I'm sleeping with you tonight, no matter what. He grabbed Jessica and started dragging her out. Drunk and weak, she leaned against him, her struggles half-minus hearted, half-minus willing. Robert's eyes were locked on Jessica. I could see he was ready to kill for her. Just before Jessica was pulled away, Robert finally couldn't pretend anymore. He pushed forward, kicked the man holding Jessica to the ground, and started beating him, pinning him down. His eyes blazing red, he snarled, you ever touch Jessica again, you motherfucker, I'll chop off your filthy hands. The scene erupted into chaos. People were recording. I quickly grabbed Robert's sleeve, trying to make him stop. He turned back and asked me coldly, who the hell are you to tell me what to do? I froze for a moment, then slowly let go. Jessica rushed over and hugged him, crying, Robert, don't fight for me. It kills me if you get hurt. I was so scared you were really going to leave me. Robert didn't push her away. He held her close, protecting her carefully. Everyone watched as he took Jessica away, leaving me behind. That night, Robert didn't come home. In the early hours, Jessica posted on Twitter saying, you said you'd never hold anyone else's hand again. The post included a photo of intertwined fingers. The man's hand in the picture had a birthmark on the back. It was Robert's. And I was the anyone else whose hand he'd never hold again. 10 minutes later, the tweet hit the trending topics. My haters left comments for Jessica saying, go sis. You and Robert, the best actor, are a perfect match. You have to get back together. My morals are out the window. I support Robert, the best actor, cheating. Just despite that manipulative Sarah. Lots of people were waiting to see me fail. Others commented on Robert's post. Dude, that wasn't you, right? I've been a fan for years. I can see how good Sarah is to you. You absolutely can't do this to her. Robert and I had many joint endorsement deals with astronomical penalty fees. The last thing we needed was a scandal. Manager Diane couldn't reach Robert, so she called me, telling me to figure out a way to mislead the public. Just say Robert and I were together. I scrolled through my photo album gallery, only to find I had a pitifully small number of photos with Robert chose with Robert. In those few pitiful photos, only I was smiling. Finally, I chose a photo of Robert from a long time ago, sitting under a desk lamp and reading. The soft light enveloped him, making him look just like the person who always appeared in my dreams and made me cry. As soon as the photo was posted, comments started coming in. See? Rob's right here at home. Anyone saying Rob cheated, I'll rip their mouth off. Everyone was calling Jessica shameless and accusing her of stirring up drama. Until a few minutes later, Robert retweeted Jessica's post. Under the photo of the clasped hands, he wrote it was me. He openly admitted the truth of being together, exposing my staged attempt to cover mine up. Once again, he abandoned me for Jessica. Her fans flooded my Twitter with ridicule. I also received a private message from Jessica 3 years on. You still couldn't keep Rob's heart. So useless. You said I ever wanted Robert Tess, huh? I deleted everything about him from my phone. I wanted a divorce. The next morning, the company called me in to handle Robert S. marriage crisis. As luck would have it, I saw Jessica as soon as I arrived. The moment she saw me, she apologized. I'm so sorry about last night. I drank too much and posted randomly, and Rob got caught up in it with me. It caused you trouble. I've already talked to him. He only thinks of me, not you at all. Insensitive oafs are so dumb. The things people say online are awful, calling you meist and minus-in. It's hilarious. They have no idea how much I want to thank you for taking care of Rob all these years. And she gave me a sweet smile. I smiled back at her. I am Robert's wife. A wife taking care of her husband doesn't need thanks from outsiders. By the way, don't take it personally about being called a mistress last night. Jessica's face changed. She scanned me up and down, then suddenly stared at the ring on my hand and said with a smile, "You're wearing my wedding ring. It's time to give it back." As she said this, she reached for my hand. Annoyed, I pulled back sharply and accidentally hit her face. She suddenly swung her back at me. The metal hardware cut my forehead. I raised my hand to hit back, but someone grabbed my wrist from behind. Robert appeared out of nowhere and warned me coldly, "Sarah, don't you dare touch her." When I turned back, he saw the blood on my face. He froze for a second, then frowned and looked at Jessica asking what happened. Jessica shook her head tearfully and said, "Rob. She called me a mistress and was going to hit me. When I dodged, my bag accidentally hit her. I didn't mean to, I'm sorry." The moment she cried, Robert's heart melted. He gently stroked her hair, praising her. "You did well. If someone hits you, hit them back. And here, you don't need to apologize to anyone." I suddenly envied Jessica. I'm actually quite prone to crying too, but the person who used to care enough to comfort me was gone. Manager Diane couldn't stand it anymore. She pointed at me and yelled at Robert, "This is your wife. Robert, are you blind?" Holding on to that manipulative fake. How is Sarah any less than Jessica? Had you forgotten you said you wanted a child with Sarah? Forgotten you said you felt at home only with Sarah? Now you're hurting her like this. Are you sure you won't regret it? I subconsciously touched my belly. Inside me, a nascent life was stirring. Robert smiled, a fleeting, emotional glance at me, and said calmly, "Maybe I did like Sarah for a while, but Jess is back. Sarah, whoever, they all have to step aside." Before, Robert probably only liked me for a very brief, shallow time. Now Jessica was back and he was going to love her. I took off the ring on my ring finger that didn't belong to me and handed it back to Robert. Robert's smile slowly faded. After a moment of silence, he reached out to take it. Manager Diane grabbed my arm, glanced at my belly, and gave me a look. "Don't be stupid. You're all ready." Jessica cut her off, snatching the ring. She put it on her own hand, noticed it was a bit small, and her smile froze slightly. Then she tossed the ring into the trash. She clung to Robert's arm, pouting. "It's okay. Don't be mad for me. I think a ring another woman wore is dirty. I don't want it anymore." Robert ignored her, just stared at me, and asked in a low voice, "You're all ready, what?" I gave him a faint look and turned to leave. Who's pregnant? He didn't need to know. But Robert was incredibly perceptive, and Manager Diane's hint was so obvious, I figured he probably guessed most of it. I'd been on long-term medication that affected my health and could impact fetal development. This pregnancy was an accident. The doctor advised me to terminate it, and I didn't want to stay entangled with Robert because of this child. Before the abortion, I moved out of home to avoid seeing her and prevent more trouble. Though Robert probably didn't care at all. He didn't look for me and was just living his life as usual. Manager Diane sent me a video. It was from an auction where Robert gave Jessica a magnificent diamond ring. Jessica laughed herself into his arms. A perfect couple, truly made for each other. Right. How could I forget? Robert had said it. Jessica was back. Sarah, or Sarah's child, they all had to step aside. Fine, the day before the surgery, I suddenly felt terribly uneasy. I remembered the religious medal my mom had gotten for me before she died. It was still in the safe at home, so I decided to go back and get it. When I got home, I found the entry code had been changed. Standing outside my own door, unable to get in, I suddenly felt utterly humiliated. Suppressing my anger, I called Robert, but the one who answered was Jessica. She answered with a triumphant laugh, "Sarah, it's my birthday today." Rob insisted on taking me to watch the meteor shower. "We will be back tonight." I told him once that lovers who wish on a meteor shower stay together forever. I can't believe he remembered. I'm so happy, but I can't give you the code. After all, neither of us is home, and it wouldn't be appropriate for an outsider like you to go in. I hung up immediately. I tried the key code, and putting today's date, the door opened. The code was Jessica S.'s birthday. All traces of my life in the house had been erased. On the TV stand media console, our wedding photo had been replaced by a picture of him and Jessica. They looked so young and innocent that year. Robert held Jessica and smiled so happily. My succulent plants had been thrown out pot and all. My study home office had become Jessica's piano room. I froze for a moment, then ran into the bedroom and opened the closet wardrobe. It was filled with a whole row of sexy lace nightgowns lingerie. They weren't mine. The safe was at the bottom. I pressed my fingerprint, my hands shaking, and took out all the jewelry, cash, and documents inside. But I couldn't find a religious medal my mom left me anywhere. It was the only thing my mom had given me. Jessica knew that, so she threw it away. Jessica had always hated me and my mom. Back in school, my mom worked as a housekeeper nanny for Robert's family. Jessica came to visit with her parents. The first time we met, Robert's parents introduced me to them, saying I was obedient and sensible, studied hard, and was very smart. Jessica pretended to be friendly and said she wanted to be my friend. But behind my back, she'd say, so what if she's good at studying? She can work her butt off to get into a good university, and she'll still end up working for us. Her mom is annoying too, always smiling. What does a housekeeper nanny have to be happy about? When my mom picked me up from school and ran into Jessica, she'd laugh and call my mom a bitch in Spanish. My mom didn't understand and even told me how pretty and cute she was, giving her some of her homemade cookies. Jessica would turn around and throw them in the trash, mocking my mom and saying they smelled awful. Not even a dog would eat them. My mom was flustered, blushing and unable to look up, which made the people around us burst into laughter. I dropped my backpack and went to pull Jessica's hair. My mom's eye was being hit and rushed forward to shield me. Jessica's friend kicked her, and she suddenly felt dizzy. That day, my mom was diagnosed with uterine cancer. Those terrifying cancer cells appeared secretly and quietly stole my mother's life. That religious medal was something my mom got for me secretly before praying at street Mary's church on the mountain, prostrating herself with every step. She said God would only hear her if she was truly sincere. Holding back tears, I asked her why. She smiled and said it was a secret and tell me. But I knew. I had been seriously ill as a child, and my mom went to street Mary's church on the mountain to pray for God's blessing. She vowed she'd give half her life in exchange for my health and safety. Later I recovered, and now God had taken my mother. When Jessica found out, she mocked my mom, saying only paupers were so superstitious. What was the use of keeping garbage? She should sell it for some money. At 2 a.m, Robert returned with Jessica. As they came in, Jessica wrapped her arms around Robert's neck, whining and pleading, "Rob, will you sleep with me tonight? I want to give myself to you." Saying this, she pressed her lips against his. Robert pulled away. I sat on the sofa, watching Jessica act like a bitch. Robert's gaze landed on me. Jessica paused, then turned and gave me a defiant smile. If I'd known you were home, I would have made Robert come back sooner. We didn't see any meteors tonight, and he was afraid I'd be disappointed, so he insisted on taking me to watch fireworks. You can blame me. It's fine. I'd had some drinks and felt groggy. I stood up and walked towards her, asking directly, "Where's my religious medal?" Jessica blinked nervously, still smiling. "You mean the one in the safe?" I accidentally broke it while titty up. It didn't look like it was worth anything, so I threw it away. Tears gushed from my eyes. My limbs turned instantly cold, my lips trembled uncontrollably. All I could see was my mom's pale face before she died. She had held me tight, stroking my hair over and over, telling me not to be afraid, that she wasn't leaving, that she made arrangements with God. As long as the religious medal was there, Mom would be there. I flung the wine glass at Jessica. It shattered on the marble floor, and shards cut her leg. She was scared. She stumbled back, shrinking behind Robert, whimpering pitifully, "It hurts." I stepped forward, grabbing her collar, and demanded hysterically, "Where did you throw it? Where did you throw it?" Robert came forward to stop me. I slapped him and yelled, "We're not divorced yet. How dare you bring her back here? How dare you let her mess with my things? How dare you? You were just dying to sleep with him. Robert, aren't you disgusted with yourself?" He roughly pulled me into a hug, stroking my hair, his voice low and firm, overriding mine. "Sarah, calm down. I'll take you to find your religious medal, okay? Please stop crying. I'm begging you, don't cry. It hurts to see you like this. Jessica threw my religious medal away this morning. It shouldn't have been processed yet." Robert drove me to the landfill, speeding the whole way. He searched through the trash with me. He was a germaphobe, but he didn't seem to care about the dirt or the smell, getting his hands covered in grime. We searched from dusk until dawn. I found nothing. As the sun rose, I suddenly felt utterly helpless. The golden light in the sky stemmed my eyes. I bit my lip, holding back tears, forcing myself not to cry. The old woman at the landfill saw how pathetic I was and came to help us search. Just as I was about to give up, she called out to me, "Honey dear, come look, is this it?" I scrambled to my feet. The world spun for a second, but I didn't care. I pulled my legs out of the trash heap and ran towards her. The old woman was holding a small sandalwood box. Inside were pieces of broken jade. This was my religious medal, but it was truly broken. I should have been happy, just to have found it, I tried hard to smile, but my lips barely curved before tears began to fall. They dropped splashing down. Mom, you said as long as the religious medal was here, you'd be here. But the religious medal is broken. Will you still be here? Please don't go. Don't leave me. Robert reached out and pulled me into his arms, comforting me. Don't be sad. We can find someone to fix it. I pushed him away, shaking my head. It's fine. Don't bother. After a moment, Robert's voice turned cold. He almost snarled at me, his voice tight with anger. Sarah, every damn time you tell me it's fine, I want to choke you. Would it kill you to rely on me just once? I just stared at him. Robert's phone suddenly rang. It was Jessica calling. He hesitated for 2 seconds, but then he answered. Jessica was crying on the other end. Rob, I wanted to come find you both and properly apologize to Sarah, but I got lost. There's a man following me. I'm so scared. Robert didn't look at me again. He turned and walked away. Just then, I got a text from the hospital. Today was the day of my scheduled abortion. On Jessica's birthday, I lost my mother and the child died never met. Before entering the operating room hours, the anesthesia started to take effect, and I drifted into a dream of memories. That year I was 16. With Robert's family support, Jessica, Robert, and I entered the same school. From then on, my nightmare began. I didn't understand why Jessica would bully me so much. She and her friends would stick used chewing gum in my hair and throw used sanitary pads into my backpack. They would trip me when I walked past and pour dirty water on my head when I was in the bathroom. It wasn't that I didn't fight back, and the teachers knew about it too, but they did nothing. Later, I got my period and had terrible cramps. I just found some pain relievers to take when Jessica snatched them away. She smiled sweetly and told me to kneel and beg her. I clenched my teeth and endured it, but the pain tormented me in waves. I was truly afraid I couldn't bear it any longer and give in to Jessica. The classmates around me were placing bets on how long I could last. Looking at the $100 bills piled on the desk, I couldn't help but cry aloud in frustration. Suddenly, someone leaned against my desk, casting a shadow over me. He picked up the money, counted it, and smirked. All right, not bad. Consider it a tribute to your grandpa. Watching him stuff the money into his pocket, those people didn't dare utter a sound. He crooked a finger at Jessica, still smiling, but his smile was ice cold. Give me this little sick duck. I'm adopting her. From now on, she belongs to me. Anyone who touches her, I'll mess them up. Got it, everyone. He was Robert's scumbag brother Jason, always getting into trouble and never studying. I hadn't liked him much before, but today he helped me out. I guessed it was probably because he was covered in injuries from fighting, and the elders at home never asked why, only punished and cursed him. Only my mom secretly made sure to put medicine on his wounds. From that day on, this little clumsy duck also had her own loyal caretaker. When I woke up from the anesthesia, manager Diane was holding my hand, crying a lot. I asked her why she was crying. She said I'd been talking in my sleep for a long time. I looked at the tall building across the way at its rooftop and closed my eyes. I whispered softly. He flew away with the wind. I turned off my phone and vanished for half a month. Manager Diane said Robert had been looking for me like crazy. The first thing I did after being discharged from the hospital was take the divorce agreement to see him. Robert was silent for a moment, then smiled coldly. He glanced briefly at the agreement and tossed it onto the coffee table. Looking up, he stared at my belly and said slowly before the divorce, "Isn't there something else we need to discuss?" I calmly and answered him, "There was before, but not anymore. I had the child removed. Don't worry, you have nothing to hold you back." Robert's pupils trembled. He froze for 2 seconds, then lowered his head and suddenly laughed. "Sarah, you disappeared for half a month just to do that. I was worried you'd be upset, running all over the country looking for experts to restore it. And this is how you treat me." He reached out and yawned to the sofa, pinning me beneath him. He asked fiercely, "Why are you doing this to me?" I used to be too obedient. Everyone thought I was madly in love with Robert, including him. I looked up at his face, gently stroking his eyebrows and eyes. I told him calmly, "Robert, the person I love was never you. You looked terrible when you lose your temper. You're less and less like him." Finding a substitute did bring me some comfort at first, but over time, I realized his smile wasn't his lack of smile wasn't his hugs, his breathing, none of it was the same. I got tired of it. Robert didn't know who I was talking about. His tears suddenly fell, landing on my cheek. "Well, I've lived long enough to see everything," he muttered. "It's disgusting." I wiped the moisture from my face in disgust and told him, "Don't feel wrong. Our relationship started as a transaction, didn't it? You used me to spite someone. I used you as a landmine. We owe each other nothing." Before I finished, Robert cut me off. His eyes suddenly turned red. In that moment, he looked like a lost puppy. He said, "Sarah, you have no right to say we owe each other nothing. Do you have any idea you're all I can think about now? When you disappeared, I'd wake up in a panic in the middle of the night. Sarah, you made me fall in love with you, and now you're telling me we owe each other nothing?" As he spoke, he reached out and grabbed my face like a savage wolf, gritting his teeth and threatening me. You want a divorce? Dream on. Jessica, who had been hiding in the room listening, pushed the door open. She walked out, looking lost and distraught, standing awkwardly in the middle of the living room, and asked Robert in a choked whisper, "What are you saying?" As Robert was about to get up, I reached out and grabbed his tie, pulling him closer. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Jessica clench her fists. I smiled and asked Robert back when we were in school. Even though we weren't in the same class, you must have known how Jessica bullied me, right? Jessica panicked. Crying, she said, "Rob, everyone makes mistakes when they're young and foolish, don't they? Besides, you know I was just joking. If she's upset, can I apologize to her?" Saying this, she dropped to her knees, pleading, "Sarah, Rob is all I have left. Please don't take him away from me. Rob, you've seen how terrifying those debt collectors are. If you really don't want me anymore, if you ask for that money back, they might." Robert frowned. He stared into my eyes, hesitated for a long time, and finally said, "I'm sorry." He was always like this. He'd say he loved me, but when it came down to a choice, he'd always side with Jessica. He was so fake. I smiled and slapped him, yelling, "Then why were you putting on that fake deep affection just now? You don't need to apologize. I was just messing with you anyway. Robert, who you love, is none of my damn business." Robert's eyes flickered with pain, then gradually turned cold. He pushed me away. He walked over to Jessica and slowly pulled her into his embrace, comforting her softly. "It's okay. Don't be scared. It's all my fault for saying foolish things. I'll never leave you for anyone else, I promise." Jessica pounded his shoulder, crying tearfully, then clung to his neck, afraid to let go. Seeing how scared she looked, it felt absolutely satisfying. The day Robert and I got divorced, Jessica came along. She held Robert's hand tightly, afraid I'd somehow bewitch him and he'd be lured away. When we got the divorce papers, she visibly relaxed. While Robert went to get the car, she came over to provoke me. "You were Mrs. Robert for 3 years while we were having issues. Consider it a gift from me. Sarah, remember this, you'll always be the old pauper raising a young pauper. Watch yourself from now on. I'll make your life hell." I reached out and yanked her hair. She screamed in pain. I leaned close to her ear and whispered with a smile, "Jessica, I have proof you committed murder." She froze, her face instantly contorted in panic. I watched her with satisfaction and continued, "But don't worry, I'm not as vicious as you. I don't want you dead. I want you to wish you were dead." After we announced our divorce, Robert was permanently branded a cheater. He didn't seem to care. He was a male star in Robert, the best actor. This kind of scandal was practically harmless to him. Someone would always forgive him. He started taking Jessica to public events, releasing statements to clear her name, and paving the way for her acting career. Robert had money and power. This small matter was quickly resolved. The next time we met, Jessica had already finished shooting a major film and made a high-minus profile comeback. It was an old senior's birthday party tonight, and I was invited. I couldn't not come. As I arrived at the entrance to the banquet hall, I saw Jessica minus arm with Robert greeting me. "Sarah, long time no see. I heard you recently filmed an indie movie. Are you having trouble? Your project seemed to have gone down in quality so much." In front of Robert, Jessica always acted very sweet and obedient. She had probably forgotten I said I'd make her wish she were dead. Maybe she thought nothing had happened for so long, so I was just trying to scare her. Manager Diane scoffed at her. "Miss Jessica, don't speak out of turn if you don't know. Indie films aren't the same as getting lower minus quality projects. The director has won international awards." "You're offending people saying that." Jessica's expression shifted, then she smiled again. She leaned lightly against Robert's arm and said playfully, "It's okay if I offend people. I have my husband after all. We were always like this. I get into trouble, and he'd bail me out. As long as he's here, I'm not afraid of anything." I couldn't be bothered to respond. I handed over the gift money, signed the guest book, and got ready to leave. Jessica suddenly called out to me. She took an invitation from her bag. "I forgot to tell you, Rob and I are getting married in October. We hope you can come." Robert frowned slightly and gave her a subtle glance. I stopped. I looked at the pink invitation and took it with a smile. I chatted with Jessica for a bit. "You guys kept it quiet pretty well. I didn't hear anything. Like when I got married, your husband insisted on a full-lit stream, wanting the whole world to know. It looked grand, but it was actually quite annoying." Seeing Jessica's expression change, I turned and left, tossing the invitation into the trash. "Mr. Robert and Miss Jessica, I hope you have a wedding you'll never forget." I heard Jessica argued with Robert for a long time about the wedding before he agreed to change the private ceremony to a full-live stream. She was so stupid. What was so great about a public show? What Robert truly wanted to give her was protection, but she didn't understand. I counted down the days until their wedding. I wanted them to stand publicly before the world, bound together as husband and wife, to sink or swim, live or die together. After that class reunion, I received an anonymous video. I don't know which old classmate sent it, but it told me Jason's death wasn't a suicide. "I'm sorry I didn't dare tell you before. I was afraid of retaliation from Jessica." "Jason." It had been so long since anyone mentioned his name. That night, watching the video over and over, I finally learned why he died the day he fell from the rooftop, the same day I planned to confess my feelings to him. On the day of the wedding, I watched the live stream, afraid of missing the look of happiness on their faces. Jessica, wearing a couture wedding dress, walked slowly down the aisle covered in white roses. Robert waited for her at the altar, looking so tender. True love burids finally together. Under the pastor's witness, they poured out their hearts, vowing eternal loyalty to each other through sickness and health till death do them part. The chaos began at this moment. A video suddenly appeared online, spreading rapidly. It was on the rooftop of the school. There were people in the frame. Clearly visible was a slightly younger, more naive Jessica, and another man who looked very much like Robert. It was snowing that day. Jessica stood at the edge of the rooftop, swaying precariously. Crying, she asked the boy, "Do you really have to watch me die before you'll be with me?" The boy sounded impatient. "How many times do I have to tell you who I like? Are you deaf or something?" Jessica continued to act unreasonably. "Who do you like? Is there anyone at school prettier than me? Is it that bumpkin Sarah? What does she have that I don't?" Probably because the person he liked was being insulted, the boy laughed coldly. "Jessica, I know exactly what kind of person you are. Your little tricks might fool Robert, but you're not good enough to play games with me. Hand over Sarah's photos. If you dare mess with her again, you'll regret it, believe me." Jessica's eyes widened. After a long pause, she said, "You have terrible taste, really. Do you know how many people like me? You don't want Sarah's naked photos released, right? Come and get them yourself. If you can't, don't blame me for distributing them. I'm letting every man in the world see what kind of person that bumpkin is." She pulled a memory card SD card from her pocket, held it high, and suddenly crouched down just as the boy rushed towards her. The rooftop was so slippery that day, and the wind on the rooftop was so strong. A boy turned into a butterfly and, after a brief pause, flew away with the wind. I still remember how dark the sky was that day. He ruffled my hair and told me to wait for him after school so we could go home together. I touched the confession letter I had written hidden in my desk and nodded, blushing. Later, he left and never came back. That confession letter is still treasured in my backpack. Someone in the live stream called a halt to the ceremony and showed Robert something on their phone. Jessica's face went white. Grabbing Robert's collar, she cried and screamed, "Don't look! Don't look! Don't look! Rob, it's not true. I didn't mean to. His fall had nothing to do with me. I didn't realize the rooftop would be that slippery. How was I supposed to know he was so useless he couldn't even stand steady?" Robert shoved her away violently, sending her tumbling to the ground. Her diamond headband fell off, her hair came loose, and her makeup smeared across her face. A crowd of reporters swarmed forward, snapping photos of her frantically. This dream wedding she had anticipated for so long turned into a spectacular funeral. It was truly pathetic, and it felt so satisfying. "Jessica, I told you I'd make you wish you were dead. I wasn't just talking." This scandal ignited massive public outcry. People online started coming forward, listing bad things Jessica had done since childhood, some true, some false. Netizens began discussing the impact of social status, family background, and upbringing on a child's character. Some said there's a type of child in the world who is born bad. I couldn't agree more. The day Jessica was arrested, she looked gaunt, shrinking away from the cameras. Under the barrage of flashing lights, she broke down, sobbing and screaming, "Don't take pictures. Don't cyberbully me. I know I was wrong. I really know. Please, please let me go." She finally tasted fear. She was sentenced to many years. I heard someone she used to bully ended up as her cellmate. I imagine her life in prison will be very happy. Robert was also implicated by Jessica, blacklisted by the industry, and disowned by Robert's parents. First, I exposed his massive tax issues, stripping him of his money. Then, I hired people to follow him, stirring up trouble for him every few days. Someone took a photo of him on a U.S. street being robbed by a gang of thugs. He was stabbed when he fought back. His condition was unknown. There was something else that was quite amusing. Jason's parents, who had never cared about him and were cold even after he died, suddenly appeared in public, putting on a show about how filial Jason was, saying that even though he had a temper, his character was upright. Their tears seemed genuine, but they didn't even know what kind of flowers Jason liked. They placed large bunches of lilies in front of his gravestone headstone. I had to go several times to get rid of them. Jason hated lilies more than anything. He was very picky and always said lilies smelled bad. I cleaned up his apartment for him. I sat beside his gravestone, basking in the sun, wanting so badly to talk to him. What would I say? Let me think. Maybe I'd tell them something he never heard, that I loved him.